In this video, we are going to solve this exercise about higher order function. The first one says, write a higher order function named loop that provides something like a for loop statement. So we'll go ahead create a function named loop. So it provides a feature something like for loop. It takes a start value. So it will take the first thing that is start. The second thing it takes is test. Third one is update, and fourth one is body. And it is asking us to create a for loop kind of structure. So let's go ahead and write a for loop to compare it. So we'll say I is equal to 0, I less than 10, I plus plus. And when everything is okay, we'll just execute this body. So this is our body. So when we compare this with the input, we'll see that we initialize the variable I with the start value. Then here we test it. Whatever is the value of I at that point of time, that is what it is saying, use the start value at the initial value. So here instead of saying 0, we'll say whatever is the value. And here if you look at it, how it is calling the function, you can see the first value is 3. So we said I is equal to start. Next is we have to test it. So we are saying passing the current value. So this is the current value, that is I. In the test function can be used to determine when to stop the loop, because test is used for determining when to stop the loop. So we'll say test, and here we'll pass the value of I. Similarly here we use this to increment it, but we do it only after executing the body, because this is how it works. You initialize it, you test it, you execute the body and update the loop. So here it says when test is true or truthy, execute the body function with the current value. So here we have to update the body function. So this is body with the value of I. Similarly, here we have to update the loop. How do you are going to update the loop? By reassigning the value of I to whatever comes back from update by passing the value of I. So here if you compare it with this function, this is a function that is giving true or false based on value is greater than 0 or not. Update value is changing the value one less after another. So it's 3, 2, 1. So this is how we should be writing this loop. Let's go ahead and test it. So we'll copy this and paste it here. Press enter and we can see the value 3, 2, 1. Let's go ahead and compare it. This is the same output. Here the trick to understand this question is to compare this function that you have to implement, that is for loop, and first write the for loop and try to compare it with start, test, update and body. Moving on, we have to write another function called reduce that takes an array and reduces the element to a single value. For example, it can sum all the numbers, multiply them, or any operation that you can put into a function. So this is similar to implementing your own reduce. So here it is saying the function has an accumulator value. So let's go ahead and define a variable. We'll say let accumulator is equal to, and it says accumulator starts with initial value and accumulates the output on each loop. Okay, so let us go ahead and initialize it. So we'll say initial value is the first value of accumulator. Now the array is iterated over. So we need to iterate over array. So for that we'll write a for loop. So here we can say for let I is equal to 0, I is less than array.length I plus plus. So we have already written this loop. Now passing the accumulator and the next array element as an argument to callback function. So here we can say callback function, we need to pass accumulator and the next value. So whatever is the next value, it is array of I. The callback function, the callback's return value becomes the new accumulator value. So whatever getting returned from here becomes a new value of accumulator. So we'll say accumulator is equal to, so whatever coming back from here should become the next value of accumulator. The next loop executes with the new accumulator value in the example above. So in the example above, the accumulator begins at 0. So initial value is 0. Then we have to call add 0 and 4 because initial value is 0. It will return 4. So next value of accumulator will become 4 now. Next value of accumulator is 5. And at last, the final value of accumulator gets returned. So we'll say return accumulator. So we just followed this question and this is what we came up with. Let's see if it is working or not. Clear it out. Here we see the value 8. So reduce accepts nums. Nums is an array. Add is a function that adds to number and initial value. It takes the initial value. Accumulator starts with the initial value, loops over the array and calls the callback function with accumulator and the current value. And whatever getting returned from the callback becomes the next value of accumulator. So in this way we completed this. Moving on to next, here it says create a function called intersection that compares the input array and returns a new array with element found in all the inputs. So here we can see that the function intersection is being called with 3 different array. So the first thing is how can I get access to all these 3 different array? One way of doing it is like A, B, C. But this is a problem. As soon as somebody adds one extra array, it will not work. So we will have to do something else. So we are going to use rest operator. Now let's see how rest operator works. So here we are saying intersection ... So this is rest operator and array. So whatever is coming as parameter here, it doesn't matter how many of them are there. It will be included in a single array and that will be called arrays. So let's test it. So here we'll call this and here we'll say console.log arrays. Press enter and we can see an array that has 3 different arrays. If we are passing more than 3, it will also take over. So you can just say an array 1, 2, press enter. And here we have 4 arrays. So whatever number of input you pass, it will be there. So this problem is solved now. Now we need to do intersection of all these different array inside arrays. For that, we need to first understand what is intersection. So let's just try to understand what is intersection. So imagine this is an array. I'm just going to create a section like this. We'll have something like this here. So here we can see we have one array. Let's just have another array and maybe another array. So first try to understand what is intersection. So here we have value 1. So we have 3 different array. Intersection is when you're trying to see what all elements are present in all 3 of these arrays. Say for example here, 1 is present in this. Is 1 present in the second array? It is. Is 1 present in the third array? Sorry, it is here. So then we can see 1 is the intersection of all 3 of it. Similarly, we can see 10 is present, 10 is present, and 10 is present. 9 is not present. So that is what is the meaning of intersection. Now let's see how are we going to do this. So first thing we have understood is intersection about comparing multiple arrays. You cannot compare all the arrays at the same time. So that is another problem. So we are going to compare at least 2 array at a time because to compare you need at least 2 element. You remember in sorting we need 2 number to compare it. So here we will need access to 2 array. Now how we are going to do that? So for that, what we will do, we'll create another array. This is the array where we will keep storing the value. So we'll put it here, we'll empty it out. And what we will do first here is we'll take the first value. We'll see, is this one present in the second array? So this is your array 1 and this is your array 2. And maybe this is your final array. So you will see, is 1 present in second array? So you will take this first element and check if it is present in second array, then keep it. Similarly, is 9 present in the second array? No, throw it out. Similarly, 10, is 10 present in second array? Obviously, so we'll keep it. It is present here. Is 11 present in second array? Yeah, it is. So we'll keep it. Similarly, 13, is 13 present in second array? No, just throw it out. Is 22 present in second array? No, throw it out. So when we compared these two, we got this as an output. Now what we will do, we'll take this value and compare it to the third one. Similarly, once compared to the third one, we'll compare it to the fourth one. But let's just see how we are going to compare the third one. So this is the value. I'm taking the first value. I'm seeing, is 1 present in third array? It is. So we'll keep it. Is 10 present into second array? We'll keep it. Is 11 present into second array? No. So we'll delete it. Finally, 1 and 10 will be our final thing. So this is how we have to do it. Let's just see how we can write it in code. So the first thing we need to do is we need access to two array to compare. So for that, we'll just say, write a for loop for let I is equal to 0, I less than array dot length I plus plus. Now here we'll say let first, or else we can just declare the first here itself. We'll say first is arrays of 0. That will be your first array. Now here I'll start the element from 1 because we already have first one, and this is the second one. So in that way we get access to first and second array. So we'll say second is equal to arrays of I. Because the value of I is 1 right now, this is 0. So this one is first, this one is second. Now what we need to do, we have two elements. We have to apply filter on this one, comparing it to this one. So how we are going to do that? We'll say first dot filter. So we are going to filter the first one. We'll get an element. And what we'll check, is that element present in second or not? So second dot includes. Does it include the element? If it does, then return that array. So what we did is, like, we compared these two, we came up with this one, and this will become the next array. So what I'm going to do now, I'll reassign the value of first to the new array coming out from here. And at last what we need to do, return first, because this will contain the final value. Let's see if it is working or not. Like, we try to write our own algorithm here, and let's see if it is working or not. Clear it out, paste it, press enter, and we can see we have 5 and 15. This is the simplest way of thinking about an algorithm and implementing it. Similarly, let's just try calling this function with a different value so we can understand if it is working or not. So we'll add a value like 12, 12, 13, 24. Similarly, here we'll say 12, 13. Here we'll say 12, 13. Press enter, and we can see we have 5, 12, 13, and 15. So this algorithm is working for us. So this is how you create intersection. Now let's go ahead and do the same thing for union. So for that, we are going to use the rest operator. So we'll get all the arrays. Now let's try to understand what is union. So similarly, how we did it here, we'll try to do the same thing here. So what is union is you take this value, whatever is unique here, you have to take out that value. So obviously, we will have to compare two arrays. So here also, to create union, we will need access to two arrays because we have to compare them. So we'll take the first value, we'll go to the second array and we'll say, does the second array has an element 1? If the answer is 1, so let's go ahead and try to see how we are going to create union. So union again is creating a list of array that is not coming 2 times. So here 1, 1 and 1 is coming 3 times, but the union of all these array, in that 1 should come only once. So let's see how we are going to implement that logic. So here in array 1 we have 1. So we'll go to array 2 and ask, does array 2 includes 1 or not? If the answer is yes, then go ahead and delete it. Similarly, go ahead and ask for 9. Does 9... So now let's go ahead to 9 and ask, is 9 present in array 2? The answer is no, so keep it. Is 10 present in array 2? If the answer is yes, delete it. Is 11 present in array 2? If yes, delete it. Is 13 present in array 2? If no, then keep it. Is 13... So now we'll ask, is 13 present in array 2? The answer is no, keep it. 22 present in array 2, keep it. Now what we are going to do, we are going to merge this and this into one array, and that will come together something like this. So now we have array 1, 10, 34, 36, 4, 11, 9, 13. Now we'll do this array and do the same thing, and finally we'll have an output. So let's see how we are going to do that. So obviously we are going to use the similar kind of structure. So I'll copy this code from here and paste it. I have access to the first one. I have access to the second one. All we need to do is to write this algorithm. So here we'll go into the first array and we'll apply filter. Filter on basis of what? We'll get access to element and we'll say if this element is present into second, then we'll say element, then we'll say second dot includes the element. If it includes in the second, you have to delete it. That's why we are saying no, don't keep it. So that is the value that will become first. So whatever getting returned from here, and now what we will do, we will concatenate this with the second array. That's what we did, right? So we deleted all the element from here and then we concatenate it with array 2. So how can we do that? So we'll say concat second. And that will become the first value and we'll do the second again. So that is all we need to do. Let's see if it is working or not. So we can see the output is 88, 7, 100, 15, 10, 1, 5. So no element is missing and all the elements are coming only once. What is the output? The output is same, 5, 10, 15, 88, 1, 7, 100. The sequence is different, it doesn't matter. If you want to test it again, we can call this function here with some another value. So let's call it with 12, 13, 34, 54, and that will come here. So we implemented this logic by understanding how it actually works. So when you understand that, then writing logic becomes a lot more easier. So in this way, we completed this exercise. In upcoming videos, in upcoming lessons, you have to implement the same thing, but with a twist. We'll see how we are going to do that there.